Look at that. So I want to talk today about the dreamer. See, when debating about God's existence comes in about the morality of God, they say either God is not all-powerful or God is not good when considering the cruelties in life. There's actually other options. I hate it when people just automatically tell you it's yes or no, black or white, when it's actually more than that. There's a third option. I forgot to mention the reason why they say that is basically bad things happen in the world, and the only reason that happens is either A, because God is not powerful enough to stop it, or B, God does not want to stop it and is okay with it. So they say that's why there's no God, because it's either one of the two. As an assumption, there's many other possible reasons why. And I want to get into one that I think really makes all the puzzle pieces fit. It's what I call the dreamer. When you dream, or when you imagine something, what happens? It's like you're in another place. It's a temporary, imaginary place, right? What if I told you when God dreams, when God imagines, it actually makes our physical reality? If God wasn't something like our existence at all, which is matter-based, if God was just energy, if energy was infinitely intelligent, that sort of thing, if God were energy, or something like that, maybe even something beyond that, when it imagines something, what it imagines becomes reality. But here's what I think gets more interesting. What if it's not that it imagines our existence? What if it's dreaming? What if it goes through cycles? Just like how our mind goes through cycles. We're awake, we go to sleep, we're awake, we go to sleep. What if this mind that conceived existence also goes through cycles, and this is just a dream? It's just one of its dreams. It would mean then it's temporary, first of all, and that, like when you're in a dream, it's your mind going through all the different possibilities, processing it, but you're not actually in direct control of it, like if you were imagining something. If you were imagining a story, you would have complete and direct control over every little event. And that's usually how most people view God, is this, He controls everything, every little tiny thing. But anybody who's gone through life long enough knows that this is disturbing, because when you see horrific things done, you have to then say, well, God wanted that to happen. Well, I say, well, God didn't want that to happen. Okay, well, which is it? You're picking and choosing. You wanted the good things to happen, not the bad things to happen? Let me tell you something. In this world, anything can happen. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have had to tell us when we pray to pray that God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven, implying God's will is not done on earth. And in fact, further, Jesus even mentions that the God of this world is Satan. That there's like a God of this world, and it's Satan. That's a scary idea. I'm not going to get into that, or the meaning of that, or any of that right now, but the point is, Jesus actually makes it clear that God is not controlling every little thing. This is a world of cause and effect, causality. And it's, many would say, the perfect platform for creatures with free will. The world is the way we've made it. It could be good, it could be bad. Okay, but one thing's for sure is everything that has a beginning has an end. Everything in this type of existence will end at some point. It's temporary. And let's get back to the idea of the dreamer. So we're in a big dream. What would be more interesting is if the dreamer was actually involving himself with us through the life of Jesus. Wouldn't that be a trip? Meaning, when you have a dream, you are, in quotes, the only real person in that dream, and everyone else is just a figment in your dream. Okay? They don't know that. They're just characters in your dream, and sometimes you don't even know that. You're the only real person in the dream. Everything else is just, well, it's not as real as the dreamer. What happens when you wake up from a dream? You remember it. But here's what's interesting. You can also choose to forget it. You can choose to forget some parts. You can remember some parts, you can forget some parts. If this existence is just a manifestation of some infinite mind's dream, it's temporary, it comes and it goes, then imagine what that mind can do when it is consciously imagining something, willfully. That's what we call heaven. In that world, God's will, His kindness, His mercy, His fairness, all these things are controlling everything. They are in control of everything. That's the whole idea of heaven. People talk about how this might be a computer simulation. Let me explain why I don't think that's so. And they also say how we're many layers deep into a simulation. And let me also, at the same time, explain why I don't believe that's so. The type of, okay, how do I put this? First, the culture would have to be advanced enough to create such a system, which some would say, well, within 100 years we could probably create such a realistic system like our world. Okay, but there's bigger issues than just a program that could be extremely realistic enough to actually be its own reality. There's two parts to this. First, the amount of power required to maintain that kind of a program is going to basically be a civilization that maybe knows how to make a Dyson sphere, knows how to draw power from a black hole. They're going to have to be pretty advanced to power that kind of a program. We don't, how do I put this, to create a whole other reality. Now, whether every single atom is constantly maintained in this program or whether it's only perceptual, who knows? But either way, and the way that it works, in a causality type of way, it would really have to be maintained. Every single atom would have to be maintained. Every single, the kind of computer required to run this kind of a program and the level of how advanced the civilization would have to be to power it, I think they would have other better things to be doing. The other question is, what would the super advanced society be doing with this simulator? I find it hard to believe that they would be using it to play Grand Theft Auto style things. This to me kind of reminds me of like a 30-year-old playing with a 4-year-old's toy. If you're that advanced enough to build this kind of an advanced reality, I don't think you would be using it as a toy. If anything, the only idea I thought of that they might be using it for, assuming this is a simulator, is it could be that their universe is on the verge of collapse and they're trying to find solutions to prevent it. So they're creating simulated realities in order to test alternatives, because it could be that if they do something wrong, they could accidentally blow their own universe up. So they create simulated realities, and that's what this whole thing is for. And sadly, you and I and all of our lives was just a means to an end for them to test out how to save their universe. So I thought that's probably the only realistic reason why such an advanced society would create a virtual reality like this. But I don't think that they would have, how do I put this? The odds that our current civilization will reach that level of advancement without destroying ourselves first, or being destroyed first, I think is very slim. I just don't think, just because of how difficult it would be to achieve this scale of reality, I just don't see it. Now, I definitely do not believe in the hundreds or thousands of layers deep. That is the stupidest thing ever. Do you realize that's basically how you cause a system crash? You try to hit infinity with a computer, with a limited machine that's limited to so much memory, so much processing power, that sort of thing. Once you've got like a mirror reflecting a mirror, it creates a divide by zero form of endless loop. A limited machine cannot create infinite. And if they're suggesting that each new simulation creates another new simulation, which then creates another new simulation endlessly, then we're in a loop. It would crash the system. We wouldn't even exist because it would already have crashed. Or possibly, maybe it hasn't crashed yet, and since we're perceiving it so slowly, it hasn't crashed yet. But all I'm getting at is the whole, are we 1,000 layers deep in? I don't buy it. I'm pretty sure the system would have crashed by then. Another issue is, if they're so advanced to create such a reality, you'd think they wouldn't have made a divide by zero form of a mistake. So, are we in a simulation? Or in a computer game of some sort? No, I don't think so. Even if we were, I don't think we're like hundreds or dozens of layers deep. We'd be the only one. Just the amount of resources to make this kind of a program run, and the type of civilization that would be required would have all the requirements. Very rare. Not saying just because it's very rare doesn't mean it's impossible. I doubt it. But let's get back to reality here. Everybody likes to think that they're just part of a Grand Theft Auto 20 sort of game, so that way they don't have to feel like there's consequences to anything they do. It's a terrible way of looking at life. Let's get back to reality, what I was talking about here. The fact that our existence, it's temporary, it comes and it goes. And that a mind could have conceived it not so much willfully as so much like a dream. It entered into a dream state, and it could do this regularly, indefinitely. People always say, existence just has always been, and it's just going to keep, the universe is going to keep exploding and imploding and exploding and imploding. What if the cycle I'm talking about is like the sleep cycle of this mind? But here's where it gets interesting. If it's a sleep cycle, I know I started this already once before, but if it's a sleep cycle, that would mean that there's also a conscious state in a type of existence that isn't like ours. So like when you're awake consciously, your mind is operating at a very different level, a very different way than when you're asleep. You have control over your conscious mind when you're awake. You don't when you're asleep. You can remember things from your dream, and you can even make them like a reality in a sense. You could, for example, imagine if you imagine a character in a dream, then you wrote it down on paper as part of a screenplay for an actually movie you're going to make, and you make that same character, everything about that character that you remember from the dream, but you make it in your own reality. And in your reality, there is no beginning or end. It's kind of like what Paul talks about, or what Jesus talks about, in the age to come, we won't have bodies like we do now. They'll be imperishable. We'll be like the angels. He's talking about how we'll be in a type of existence where there are no beginnings or ends, where there's nothing physical. So it's very possible that we are right now in a dream state.